of tables. That way everybody sees you online, and fill up, if you could come fill up the couches too, um, as best you can, that would be good too. And the idea is that we're trying to create a sense of a class for everybody online too, so they need to see you. And as long as you sit, that's great, guys. And then for those of you who can't sit there, sit in just the first 4 seats here, because that's the view of the camera. Uh, and then it will look like there's a class. Great. Could you come and sit right here? Excellent. Okay. Good. And uh, is there any of you? Would you be able to come sit next to him? Any of you there? Could you do that? One of you? Would you be able to sit next to him? Yeah, over here, and then and just, yeah, make sure, as long as those 4 seats are filled, and that's fine. Okay, we're good. Just want to make sure that's nice. Uh, and I have to do a final thing, which is tie my damn shoe. So I don't trip. So Mayrene's getting things connected, and I can start with everybody here and online, and you know how to do that. Yeah, could you actually put up there? Great. Uh, and excellent. So you can go do the notes. And actually, for now, if you could do the notes, I'll take care of this, okay? And then I'm going to have a student go do the notes in a moment. Thanks, Mayreen. That's great. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Humanity's Destiny. We are launched for our second class, and today is really start to look at this idea of thinking about the future and how we do it in concrete ways. And I hope that I can get to that part of the class sooner rather than later, but there are some important things we have to take care of first in terms of reviewing. And so we will see. It may be that we don't get to thinking about the future in quite the way I wanted to today, in terms of techniques and how to think of the future in realistic ways, how to forecast instead of predict, how to really identify trends that can then give you the tools, the mental tools to be able to start to forecast accurately. That's something I want to do, but I may not be able to get there today. Thinking about the future is our main topic today, but there's some reviewing I need to do. There's also something I need to talk about in more detail with Mayreen, and that is the World Expo that's coming next year and what we are going to be doing there with the global classroom. Mayreen and I, and possibly a group of students from here. So it's important that when we talk about the future, we have to talk about imagination. We have to talk about creativity. We have to talk about innovation. The future has not happened yet. So when we talk about the future, we have to talk about doing things, imagining things, and I want you to be able to look at this class as well and understand that Mayreen and I are also doing something innovative of this class for humanity's future. And that's something we want to present in Japan next year at a big international festival. So I will explain more about that. And if I can, I'll bring up a video of the World Expo's preparations, and we can start bringing that component into today's class. So the idea is today that we're really going to start to drill down more on specific ways to think about the future that make it forecastable, where you can actually not predict, but forecast with more accuracy. But the idea is that each day or each week, each class, we have a different topic. Next week will be history's lessons. Following that will be the next big thing that's coming. It's going to be a game-changing sort of development for humanity in the way that, well, the pandemic was a big thing that changed a lot of things. um, the latest technology that might be coming that's going to change the way we actually live our lives in the same way that the cell phone was, or when we go back in history, we can look at so many other technologies. Something's coming in the future in your lifetime. It's going to be a big new thing. And we're going to try and identify what that is in that class. And then beyond, we'll look at the whole role of sustainability and the future of freedom and space exploration and all of these things. So each week is a different topic. Last week was more of a general introduction, but today we really start to get down to more details. So before we continue, I just want to make sure that everything is good with the tech, because in the world today that we all live in, it's highly technologized, and we live in a global technological society. And you're looking at a pretty good example of that right on the video wall right now. You're looking here, it's frozen because of the transmission, but that is a live view. Well, not, it's offline right now, but NASA has a live view. The International Space Station, have you seen it? Yeah, great. There's several websites you can get this from, but they all use the NASA feed largely. On the International Space Station, it's orbiting planet Earth right now, going at how many kilometers? Kilometers per second? 25,000 kilometers per second, something like that. Can you check? So, oh, you have the coordinates down there. It's uh, 70, yeah, per second. So then that's it's gone from Whitby or Pickering to here in 1 second, I think, or no, it's something like that. It's really phenomenal when you start to get into cosmic planetary time. But that's technology that's allowing us to see the planet and go around the planet at that speed, um, in a basically 90 to 93 minutes. It goes around planet Earth, and there's a high definition camera sitting underneath the space station, which is something like 450 kilometers into the sky right now, and it's orbiting around. And that's the live view. But when there's a transmission issue from that, it defaults to an offline view of archived footage. So that's what it is now. It's defaulted. But when it comes back live, you'll see where the space station is right now above us in relation to the planet, going around the planet. And that's just one example of many, many obvious examples of how embedded the force of technology is in our lives. So I have to spend time at the beginning of each class to make sure that the tech is working properly. And that's just part of humanity's destiny today. We all have to make sure our tech is working. But at the same time, as you're going to see this semester, it's dangerous to take control of you. And that's where we're heading, the human race. And we have to be careful about that. We're going to have some big discussions philosophically about the extent to which you think technology should be a part of your lives. Everybody has to develop their own personal relationship with technology. And I already see examples of it here to some extent, that some of you have your laptops open, not a problem, absolutely not a problem. Some of you don't. But it's quite natural for us to want to have the tech and the machines right there at our side. The question is, when is there too much of that? So there, we're live now. I think we're over is it the Chilean Sea? It's, and we have it moving. So it's at 436.2 kilometers up. And it is moving at 7.6508 kilometers per second. And that is, what's that? Mach 7. That sounds about right. Yeah, let me get the microphones. Where are the microphones? We'll get them going in a moment, okay? So let me just make sure that everybody's good online. There are only 2 students there online. Navpreet and Sangam, you're okay? let's just check your microphones. Now, Preet, can you just jump on your microphone and say hello? Let's make sure that's working.
Hello.
Oh, lovely. It is, and I can turn that up. Great. Okay, so that's working fine. And then there are all the students watching the recording after the class, and welcome everybody. And some of you may be watching the recordings too to check as well for things. So um, if I see you right now here, and I'm also saying hello to you later in the recording if you happen to be watching the recording. Okay. So hybrid multimedia flexible classroom. That's what we're in. The purpose is to make learning more interesting and more relevant to the world today. Great. So before we get going, is there anything that you would like to ask? Anything you would like to know before we launch into the review part of the class? Anything on your minds? If there is online for Sangam or Navpreet, just put it in the live chat and we will get to it. Do I say hand? Let's just get a microphone over here, and that way everybody online can hear clearly. And so remember, it's like karaoke. Yes, please go ahead.
Yesterday you said to like send you an email of what we want to learn, but like when I sent you an email,
Yes, I'm going to review that in a moment. That's what that all is up there.
it's just mine never sent to you.
You didn't send it to me?
I sent it, just never went through.
Okay. Well, can you send it again? If not, no worries. I'm not going to penalize you or do anything nasty like deduct marks or say get out of the class. I would never do that.
Okay, just wanted to let
Thanks. Okay. All good. Thank you very much. No questions, no anything? All right. So in a moment, Maureen is going to come up and talk about Expo, and I'll try to find a good video to show you by way of reviewing what we've been working on. But let's try and get ourselves back into the humanities destiny mindset by reviewing some questions that came in last week. At the end of last week's class, I asked you to email me question, and I thought I would just go through a few of them and maybe we can talk about them a little bit. And this is based on your expectations. Last week, the class was all about largely expectations, what you can expect from this class. And then I asked you to write a question after the activity. And so let's take a look and see. And let's see if there are any questions from students just watching the recordings. Probably not. Okay, but let's check. Is Kayla in the live class right now? Kayla, excellent. So Kayla asked or said, I really want to discuss the history of humanity. I'm excited to learn about it. Excellent. We're going to be looking at history's lessons next week. Okay, Kayla? So is there anything in particular, Kayla, you might sort of elaborate on in terms of why you would talk about history and ask about that when we're in a class about the future? Heh, just a little bit of elaboration on that, okay?
Um, for the history, it's just something that I'm interested in. For me, the future is kind of a touchy subject because I didn't think I was going to have a future. So, yeah.
Oh, now it's remarkable. As soon as a student opens his or her mouth, we start to get something interesting. I'm as long as you're prepared to say something, I always find this. So now you've got me. So the next question is, what happened?
For me, I went through a lot of therapy and stuff that ended up helping me, and then I found my purpose by going to school and just figuring out what I want to do. And now I'm at a point in my life where I feel I'm comfortable and that I want a future. And that's kind of why I took this class.
Huh. Wow. Could we start a review section and we'll just have Kayla, history is important for being ready for the future. As a matter of fact, my history, Kayla said, is important for my future. Did I get that right?
Very much.
This is this is gold for learning. You're going to hear all sorts of things this semester from important visionaries, from people who think concretely about the future. But ultimately, we learn from each other. And for a student to say something like that early on is very helpful, and it's gold in terms of something to learn. It's very real. This is not a textbook. This is not a video. You just heard it live from a human being. Something important. Thank you. You're absolutely right. We have to know the past a little bit to understand the future, and history's lessons is going to get us there next week. I'm going to tell you about that. Kayla, I think you're definitely ready for the future, so get ready this semester because the things you've been through, whatever you have been, has given you some kind of wisdom and strength. And I could give you the Gandalf, scepter right now or whatever, but
Thank
I'd
you.
have to explain who Gandalf is. Raise a hand if you all know who Gandalf is. Yeah. Lord of the Rings, very wise man or woman. We're going to have a female American president probably pretty soon, so wise women are very important here. Okay, let's move on a little bit to what I think Ryan Dart said. Ryan, are you here live somewhere? Ryan, are you online? Okay, thank you, Ryan. If you're going to be watching the recording, you want to learn about diversity, well, we will definitely be dealing with that, particularly in the class about the future of freedom and human rights for the human race. And Ryan, you may not like some of the things that I tell you about in that class in terms of how it looks like in many parts of the world today, humans are having trouble with freedom and they would like to go maybe back to a more simple authoritarian time where there are men and there are women and there are simple ways of looking at things. And when diversity is something we build walls around. Freedom is a really difficult thing for humans, and a lot of us are very scared of it. We will get to that, okay? But diversity is very much about freedom and human rights. Madalena, are you here live? Are you online? Okay, Madalena, I'm just going to read this. This must come from a student who was here last week, but we'll watch the recordings. Hi, Lon. One topic I really want to explore this semester is where is love going in the future for all of us? The topic we touched on this class really interested me, so I would like to talk to learn more about that. Where does love come from? I kind of remember something, but did we talk about this last class? Ooh, good. Let's see who remembers and who doesn't. Did we start to conclude anything, or did we just sort of touch on something? Are you ready to drill down a bit on this review of love? We just touched on it, and what did we sort of? Why did we get onto that? Yeah, let's. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. How come we got onto love? Why would we ever do something so mushy?
I forgot who brought up the topic, but we were just talking about the course overview.
Yes.
And then someone basically brought up the topic about love and said that they believe that love is slowly dying out or that love is drastically changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And can you just remind us of what you said and why you said that?
I don't remember like word for word what I said, but the gist of what I was saying was um, the way that this generation looks at love is very different from previous generations, and I wonder how that's gonna unfold in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you just put that in the review as well? And your name again is
Gigi.
Gigi Rhea, right? Ari right? Yeah, I remember from doing the attendance. Yes, we talked about the importance and maybe disappearance of love for humans. Whew, that's putting it maybe a little too strongly, the disappearance, but
I didn't say it was disappearing.
I guess I'm putting words in your mouth.
Don't do that.
I would never do that. That's why I'm checking. So, what word should we use
I
then?
think that it's not disappearing, it's changing and it's being looked at differently. And it's not disappearing, the importance of it is being lost, I find.
It's evolving.
Sure.
Yeah. Great force in the human story, evolution. We're going to touch on that. What's your name again? How do you spell that? Hil. Yes, please. Hello. Go ahead. Hilal. Hilal. Yep.
You also gave us a question, like a food for thought before we class ended, and you're basically asking us where we would think love is going, or where would love end up.
Yeah.
And then I think that's the last thing we talked about last class.
Yeah. Very good. I think we did too. All right. Well, we will be getting back to that. I'm just reviewing and trying to introduce some of the important forces and questions that we may be exploring this semester. And definitely the question of where is love going? That bond that holds humans together. And remember, I said about the word humanity, that humanity has several meanings: humankind, the human bond, humaneness, what it means to be human. Why would I say what it means to be human? Isn't that something that is fixed and obvious? Why would I say that what it means to be human is an important part of humanity's destiny, particularly today? Why? Because we're living at a time where humans have created the machines to potentially do more and more for us, to the point when maybe these machines will be doing so much for us that they are in control of us and we aren't of them. And so many philosophers today and visionaries are asking the question now: if we're creating machines and algorithms and devices and artificial intelligence and all of these things to be doing more and more for us, what do humans bring to the table that machines don't? Well, that's one thing that we have to touch on, but this is a big question that we're asking, because we're living at a time in history, the third millennium, the 2000s, the 21st century we've entered into. It is unusual because humans are changing the natural world a lot, and they're even changing themselves. So then the question becomes, well, what is it that makes humans so special? What's that? We're curious. These are all important things. Thank you. Curiosity, imagination. But I'm just still in the review section, just going through some of these little points that were made. And I'm really glad that, Magdalena, you wrote about this important force. We may learn by the end of the semester, as we look more and more at all the different topics, and you start to look at your future, as you will at the end of this semester, when you do your final assignment about your own vision for the future, you may start to determine that there are certain things that humans bring to the table that a machine will never be able to. What's that? Our ability to think, our cognition. So I'm just going to put a few more notes in there right now, okay? And then we'll get to the expo review. In terms of what it means to be human, I'm just going to put a few notes for review, okay? Our capacity for love seems to be pretty unique on this planet compared to all other animals and creatures that have been here. Our curiosity, wanting to know more and more, even if it takes us to the wrong place. A computer is always going to go to the right place because computers don't like dysfunction. But humans seem to become dysfunctional and messy and all, but in that they learn things. And so our curiosity takes us to crazy places and we mess up and make mistakes, but in that we also learn things. Machines don't quite like that. They're very methodical, very logical. And so it may be that our curiosity is also something that really makes us unique, that no machine can duplicate. And then finally, our cognition. And we're going to get to that later in the course when we look at the idea of neuroscience and what we're learning about the structure of the brain with its billions of nerve cells and neurons and synapses, and how incredibly complex and unique this organism is, the brain, that has taken so many millions of years to evolve on this planet. So many animals have come and gone, died, but we gradually have emerged from other animals. And during that time, the brain has been getting better and better and better. So it may be that our cognition is also unique, but we'll see. Okay. Let's look at one more thing, and then we'll do the expo. And we have Dylan. Dylan, are you here? Dylan online? Dylan recording? Hi, Dylan. Okay. Hey, Professor, personally, I would like to hear everyone's thoughts about where the world is headed, because I personally feel the world is more divided more than it ever has been. Uh-huh. Well, did anyone happen to see any of the presidential debate last night in the United States? Yes. Um, let's see what you think about division for the moment, okay? Listen, I can get as pessimistic and dystopian and as dark as some of you are about the future, too. And it can depress me when I think about the amount of killing that still goes on, the savagery and cruelty of the human race, and our use of very powerful weapons of destruction to kill more people in a shorter period of time than we've ever done. That's what we do now. We kill a lot of people with bombs fast. That's how the Second World War was won. We dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan and wiped out Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So it's that was a long time ago, and we won't get into the wars today yet. So it can be depressing. And then there's climate change. But who is prepared to tell us a little bit about what they saw in the presidential debate last night? Hello?
I only saw a very, very tiny amount of the presidential debate,
Yes.
and I don't remember a lot of it because it's
Sorry.
like
Yep. Go ahead.
it was late at night. But I do remember the main topic was basically Kamala Harris trying to state her policies, and then Trump being asked about the riot on the White House and how he would go by not doing that again.
Yeah. And we established last week there was a question, is Kamala Harris the president yet? And I said, not yet. She's running. Well, was anybody kind of impressed with how she handled herself in the debate last night, if you saw?
She's a lot more collected.
A lot more collected. Yeah, poised. Here's the big question. Let's write this in the review. What if a woman became, for the first time in the 250-year history of the great democratic superpower on planet Earth, what if a woman became president? Would there be less division?
Depends on the group.
Is it possible that the more women we have in power, the less division we might have? Or, I don't know. What do you think, Gigi?
I think that we don't really have anything to compare it to. Like all we have had is men running our countries.
Yeah.
So we don't really have like we don't really know what's going to happen. And I can't say having a woman in charge can really change that. Can I say something really quick about what Dylan said?
Sure.
I think just the part where he says, "I personally feel the world is more divided than it has ever been." I think that's really powerful, and there's a few different ways to look at that because what is really divided? You know, I mean, not too long ago, we couldn't be in the same building or the same restaurants and things like that, and I think that's a huge divide in humanity. And yeah, that's changed now, but there's still like racism is still heavily, you know, a part of our society right now. So I don't know if it's more divided than it's ever been before.
Right.
Definitely think it certainly is still, but just because we can all be in the same place at one time and all go to school together, I don't really know if it's
Help
less divided,
less divided.
right?
Sure. Okay. But it's a great question to be asking, and we will return to this through the semester, is about the human capacity to work together and to learn from our mistakes and our wars and our cruelty to one another, and whether the future might be better. So, on that note, unless you have something to add to this, I'd like to bring one person up here who's going to help us understand the future pretty well this semester, and that's the Global Classroom Coordinator. Maureen, do you want to come up and help us a little bit more to understand what the World Expo is and where things stand with that? And I'm going to put up, at least silently, I'll find a video that can give you a little bit of a background while she's speaking about the World Expo. But can you tell them a little bit about what we're doing and what our plan is and the best you can? Okay, go ahead.
So, hi everybody. My name is Mehreen Khan. I'm the Global Classroom Coordinator, and basically, what we've been working on is an application to the World Expo that's happening in Japan next year. It runs for 6 months, and this one is scheduled for from April to October. And essentially, it is kind of like a celebration of technology. It's like a space where every country has their own pavilion, and they showcase either the culture. It's mostly technology, but it's culture, their innovations, and all of that. So I had the chance to be at the last World Expo that happened in Dubai, and I had the opportunity to work there for a little bit, and it was definitely an amazing experience. So while I was there, Lon had his classes at the time, and I would virtually kind of take the students and everybody around some of the pavilions that were there, and we saw a couple of great innovations, I guess.
Hmm.
And now we are planning to kind of showcase this classroom because it's so different than any other kind of place around the world, and just be there and kind of showcase how we are trying to make education accessible and available to everybody, regardless of where they live, regardless of technology and all of that. So um, we've submitted applications. We're just waiting to hear from them, and then Lon's hoping to present there with a couple of students, a group of students, hopefully, and just kind of collaborate with people from around the world, really.
Here it is on. Thanks, Maureen. It's in low def. This is a video off YouTube, so it's not. Let me see if I can put it in higher def. Oh, yes, I can. So you can see this as a backdrop. This is the site of the World Expo 2025 in Osaka, in Japan, and we won't let the slowness of tech, get in the way of what we need to do. But right now, we'll let algorithm speed up and get us back that video. But essentially, the idea is that we are going to be presenting there with many others something about the future of technology in terms of how education and technology can work together with this multimedia classroom. So that will come up there. Oh, there we go. And you'll get a sense of the site. I wanted to make sure that you understand a bit of what Expo is, because it's actually something that has been very important in Canada's history too. Some of you may be aware that in 1967, Canada had its centennial after it was confederated in 1867, and we became one nation, essentially still under British law, but Canada became a kind of united nation at that time. And in 1967, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of that. And when we did that, we had the World Expo in Montreal. And in Montreal, they built a whole site, a pavilion. The Queen came, Prime Minister came, many people visited. And it was the time in Canada's history when we said to the world that we are now arriving as a new modern world, not one that is governed so much by old British and French um, rules and laws, but that we are largely a nation now of the future with many new immigrants coming into the country. And so having that World Expo in 1967 was a time for Canada to really declare its future identity as being engaged with technology and science in the future. And millions of people came to visit the many pavilions there. One of the pavilions was a geodesic dome, which was the first of its kind. And after Ontario Place in Toronto was built with that geodesic dome, and it was really the time for the country to assert its identity for the future. Well, that's what World Expos are. Every 5 years, they're held by different countries. Maureen attended the one and worked at the one 5 years ago in United Arab Emirates. And in 2025, um, there will be the World Expo in Osaka, Japan. If you're interested in getting involved in this and possibly even joining a team of students from Durham College that go with us to present the global classroom as the multimedia classroom of the future, let Maureen know. But we're quite serious about the idea of trying to create something new in education, in this classroom, in the way we use technology. Ultimately, what's always going to matter, though, in the use of technology will be in how it helps humans. And that's something that we're going to continue to come back to in the class, is this idea of how do we engage with one another, human interaction, and make it the best we can be, assisted by technology, not the other way around. Is there anything we're missing that you would like to mention about the whole idea of what we could be doing in Expo, or even a little bit about your experience at the last Expo in Dubai and what you were doing there, and what are some of the things you saw there? And so the students can understand a little bit more about why this is a cool and important event.
So, just my experience from the last time. Every expo usually has like a theme, and this one is like the one in Japan is designing a future society for our lives. And every theme has a couple of sub themes. So the last one was mobility, sustainability, and opportunity. I worked primarily in the mobility district, so the idea was that it's not only like mobility, so like transporting from like one place to another. It was also like the transference of data, so like anything to do with like like information or like history and all of that. So it was all about that. And from the last one, each district kind of had a pavilion. So the pavilion for mobility is called Elif, which is the first alphabet of the Arabic language, and it kind of talked about the story of past, present, and future. So it was interesting to see the kind of almost like story of humanity that Lon teaches here in this class, and the architectures for almost all the main pavilions is really beautiful, and every theme is kind of embodied in the way that the pavilions are constructed. So it was really like more of a celebration of tech and cultures and just anything innovative. The Japanese pavilion was really amazing. It was kind of like a showcase of what to expect for their expo that they're going to host. So
The pavilions. What's the Canadian pavilion going to be holding? Do you know at all,
like
or do
this
we know?
upcoming
Yeah, this one.
expo, I think it's based off of like the glaciers. So like the kind of the Snow.
blocks of glaciers. The building is built like icy blocks.
Yes.
Yeah, every building, every country puts a lot of effort and energy into its pavilion. It's like the Olympics of science and engineering technology, the future for humanity. So it's really cool. Japan is building a phenomenal pavilion, to be on showcase. Are you all familiar with the idea of World Expo? Or is this new for you? It's new? Yeah, good. It extends all the way back, as I think I mentioned last week. I would have touched on this, to Nikola Tesla. Did I touch on this last week? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did, because I wanted you to understand some of the important people that have been there over the years. Thanks. Okay, well, we're going to continue on. But if you would like to get involved in the Global Classrooms Expo project, in which we're going to be doing a presentation and more, you can contact Maureen. Please put your email in the notes. And we even have some stickers we're going to give out today as well that she's done. And that's really good. So, okay, I want to get on to the main event in terms of the content that we're going to cover today. And let me just check and make sure. Any questions? Anything you'd like to get off your chest? Otherwise, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to do the same activity as last week, because I think it works quite well, is to get you up on your feet and moving along and talking to different students quickly. But we need to establish some things about thinking about the future. I'm hoping to post for some homework reading. We will see. It's not necessary. I just have to check a article that appeared in the Harvard Business Review several years ago by a futurist named Paul Sappho, who teaches in California. And he wrote an article about 6 rules for effective forecasting. And it's very instructive. Things, tricks that you can be applying to think about the future in terms of the cone of uncertainty, for example. There are tools that he has developed. But before I get to that, and I will see if we have time, there are more important things that you need to know about thinking about the future and how you do that. And so I want to introduce you to one critical thing. And could you please write down in the notes one critical thing when we think about the future? Before I get to that, I'd like to ask all of you to think for a moment about when you are beginning to think about the future, you're going to create a plan. Think about it just in terms of your life. We won't get too big yet in terms of what humanity as a whole can be doing in the future. What other thinkers who are like Paul Sappho are telling us about thinking about the future in larger ways. Let's just start with your own life. How to think about the future in a way that is actually realistic and in a way that is going to bring something better than you have right now. Raise a hand if you think that thinking about the future is about thinking about a bad thing that's going to happen. Is that what you want to think about the future for, or would you rather think about something that is going to improve your situation or improve society or improve your life? Wouldn't you rather put your efforts into thinking about something that will be good rather than something that might be difficult or destructive? That sounds obvious, doesn't it? Okay. I'm going to assume that most of you, when you want to think about the future, when you really sit down and start to think about it, you want something better. Fair? Fair? Cosmos, Navpreet, Sangam, Parth, fair? Just put it in the live chat if you're still there or wherever you are in the cosmos. But I'm going to make that assumption. So what part of you as a human do you need to exercise like a muscle? And you need to get really good with this if you're going to think about something better. What is it that you need to exercise? What part of you? This is what we need to work on. Okay, great. Let me go over. Go ahead and tell us. Brain. Fair enough. We'll start there. We're getting close, okay? We need to engage with our cognition, our brain. The heart, our feelings, they're important too, but the heart and the feelings don't do what the brain does with this one thing. Let's see, okay, if we get it. Okay, it's so simple, but I'm going to push you a little bit, and it's going to make complete sense when you hear me say this in a moment. But let's go around a little bit, and what do you think it is? Self-discipline. We'll just put that as we're brainstorming. Not yet. These are all kind of important. But what I'm trying to do is help you to identify the one part of the human being that you are. We're all humans in this room. It doesn't matter what color, where we come from. We're talking about humanity's destiny, about the human destiny. That's what we all share together in this room. We are human beings, right? Good. So this is very basic to being a human and thinking about the future. It's going to seem obvious when I say it. Gigi? Class over. This student has got something going. She listens and she's connected and she's benefiting. She nailed it. But here comes the problem. Please put imagination down. How do you tap into your imagination? My question will be, again, the second question. What role does your iPhone or your laptop or the machine right now at your fingertips have in populating your imagination with things that will improve society? What role do your machines have in stimulating your imagination? Yes. Gives you access to information. Whose information? Somebody else's. The whole world. You'll see where I'm going in a moment, because we're going to do a little activity before we get to the big activity. Yes. Connects you with what's going on, and it's giving you information. Gigi? Now we start to get into. See, this student is thinking. So let's get the care. Oh yeah, you hold that, and then we'll go around. So it doesn't help you to stimulate your imagination. The machines.
Can I say why? Why I think?
Yeah, please do.
I think that it does not help you to stimulate your imagination because it's already providing you with stimulation, things to think about, with information. It's not coming from your own head. It's like, I'm going to try to give an example. Like, if I tell you guys not to think about a big blue elephant, what are you all thinking about right now?
Big
A
blue
big
elephant.
blue elephant. But if you don't have that, if you don't have that stimulation telling you what to think about, I think then you're going to have some time to come up with your own ideas and thoughts.
Oh, my own ideas and thoughts. Yeah, I'm starting to like this. Yes. Of course. Well, actually, not completely, because the idea of the technology was introduced at a World's Fair before that. But go on, tell us. Yeah, okay. So it was on Star Trek. I know because I used to watch the original television series in the 1970s, and there were only just one season of episodes. And I know a lot about William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk, because he comes from Montreal. He's a Canadian. You know that? The original Captain Kirk. He's a Canadian. Yes.
So some
Yep. Go on. Yep.
um I'm not sure on who, but I know that someone was watching Star Trek, saw the communicators, and then say, "Hey, let's miniaturize cell phones and or phones," and we got cell phones.
Mm. Well, if we do a little bit of digging, we will find that the idea of cell phone technology predated Star Trek and was being introduced long before that. However, point taken. Sometimes we get ideas from other things around us. And just like that, we say, well, let's do this, let's do that. But hold on. In order for us to come up with new ideas that you care about and you want to implement in the world, it often has to come from you, from something you really care about, something you have feelings for, and then you start to think about it. I'm going to help you to do that right now, to show you something. Hold your thought, okay, Gigi? Yeah, hold your thought, okay? I just got to make sure I don't get too far. I've got my paddle. We're going to get in a canoe. We're going to paddle down a creek together, but I got to stay on the river, okay? And keep everybody going down the river. We got to go down the river. But we can go down a creek together too, but it just might mean a tangent too far. Hold your thought. Here's what I'd like all of you to do for just a couple of minutes before we start our activity. And for those of you online and those of you watching the recording, I hope you can do this too. Please close your laptops and shut your devices for a moment. And I probably should say that I'm increasing the pressure right now on you a little bit because this is the time of day when the afternoon doldrums start to maybe hit and we need some stimulation like coffee or something else, but you're not going to be able to get that. So you're just going to have to use the natural raw brain power that you have. We're going to be like Buddhists for a moment. Buddhism, one of the great world religions, which is we're going to do a little meditation. Now, in order to tap into your imagination, you need to be able to create a mental representation of something in your brain. And then you have to do what Albert Einstein did. He's famous for this. Everybody knows who Albert Einstein was. He could concentrate on one thing longer than anybody else. He said that. He said, one of the ways that I was able to figure out how light travels, how gravity works, how relativity works in the universe, and how he was able to give us the important theories of physics that he did in the 20th century was his ability to concentrate on a problem for a long period. I'm going to help you to do this for a moment. I want you to tap into the power of your imagination. And then we're going to have a little activity around this so that you can start to understand something about how not only your future, but the human future will depend on what comes out of your brain, what comes out of our imaginations, because there's no other creature on this planet that has the ability to think ahead and think backwards. That's our imaginations. We have a 360-degree way of thinking. We can think far ahead with our imagination, and then we can look back thousands of years, and it's all in our head. No other creature can do that. That's your brain. It's a remarkable instrument. It's the most evolved thing that has happened on planet Earth, the human brain. And so I would like to just ask you for 2 minutes. We will sit silently together, and I would like you to try first to just be quiet and then start to think about, just very slowly, something that you could improve. something that you could make better. It could be anything. It could even just be this room. You don't like the paint. It doesn't matter. It could be this video wall, but something that you want to make better. That's it. Big, small, I don't care. Once you get it, hold on to that kite. Fly it. Hold it. Don't let it fall. Concentrate on it. Go ahead. 2 minutes. Try. Hold that thought. Hold it. Fly that kite. You can do it. Hold that thought. Concentrate. Concentrate. I see it. Man, do I see it. I can feel it in my bones, but I can see it. Don't let it go. The kite wants to fly away from you. Hold that kite. Way to go. Way to go. Way to go. Okay. I'd like you all to stand, please. And I would like us to do what we did last week, which is there are going to be 11 people that line up here. So why don't we just bring 11 in here, okay? Let's see. So come in and stand. Hold that thought the best way you can because you're going to tell it to somebody else in a moment. Excellent. What's your name again? Kate, thank you. Is it Kate Kemby or Kate Francis? Good, I got it. Okay. Yes. So come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 or something. I think we might need you over here, Gigi. Okay. And then could the rest of you line up as you did last week in front of someone and I'll make hold that thought because you're going to tell it to somebody. Keep going. Let's see if we get a lineup. We have our even number. Yes, keep going. See if you can line up 1 to 1. And it might be that we need more room. So do you want to just step to your left? Good. Good. Come on in. Okay, gentlemen, way to go, everybody. Okay. So do we have one-on-one here? Let's make sure so we don't get train wreck. We have yes. We have yes. Yes. And we have you. What the two of you are one, okay, for now? Okay, because you'll go with her. You're together. You're together. You're together. You're together. You're together. Okay, could you come over here And you are okay, then stay over there, okay? Come over here. Way to go. Okay. Excellent, guys. So line up in front of what's your name again? Samantha? Smita. Could you line in front of the student here? What's your name? Ashley. Okay. Smita, stand in front of Ashley. This side, please, when I say go, tell the other what you imagined. And then that side, after listening, tell that side what you imagined. And then I'm going to say switch. Okay? Just like last week. All good? Yep. On your marks, get set, go. Okay. All right. For the students watching the recording, I am here. Okay. So you can see my hand at the podium. And as you can see, your classmates have begun their in person activity. I want you to be thinking as well. Oh, look, visitors. Just I'm not going to teach. That's right. Who's this guy? You don't want him in your class. He's about the dopiest student I've ever. Yeah, way to go. How are you? Yeah, it's Kennan, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't forget him. You in the gym? Yeah, yeah. I miss him. Yeah, I miss him. Take care. Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay, switch. Take a step to the left. One step to the left. And those students who are at the end come around. Exactly. You come to the left. Way to go. You go around. Move to your left. And at the end, you step to your left and you come around. Yeah, it's a circle. It's the circle is moving. Okay. I'll try to prevent a train wreck here. Okay. Okay. You should be in front of a new person. If you're not, then I'll double you up with somebody else. Okay. So that's new. Yes, you're new. Come over here. Okay, we have a student who just left momentarily. So do you want to do this? You are here. Okay, I'll help you. The two of you are moving. Are you moving with one? You're the okay. Now it's okay. We will see. One student left. Let's try and make it even, and we'll see. So you would be with him. Okay, you're with him. You're with her. You're with her. You are with her. You are with her, and then come around, okay? And the two of you are together. There we go. Train wreck avoided. Keep going. Thank you. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Okay, switch, please. And if you want to have some fun there, you all are live on YouTube 10 seconds ago. 10 seconds ago. Keep going. That's the recording. Yep. Come around the circle. Way to go. There's a class. Okay. But we can't hear you, okay? Don't worry. It's just we see you. Yeah. Keep the circle going. What was in your imagination? Make sure you tell your classmate that. Okay. Good. Okay. I got it. You with Colin. Just you, Hillel, you go with Colin. Okay. Yeah. What was in your imagination? You've forgotten. But I asked you to concentrate on something and think about something. Well, you have to make your brain less busy. You got to make it less busy. Sure, go ahead. Okay, switch. One step to the left. Keep the circle going. One step to the left. I'm going to get a student to do the notes, the next one. Okay, one step to the left. Yep. Make sure. Okay.
Harvard Business Review. It's like three different TVs. Yeah, they're all connected. Yeah, it's not even three things double X. I know, but partition it. Axis 3. Yeah, basically. You could watch a. That can be important. You could watch a 45 by 9 movie on this, right? Something like that. Instead of having one TV as acting as three, why not just have three TVs?
Okay, switch. Last time. One step to the left. Please go. Please return to your seats. Please return to your seats. And we are going to take this up. Excellent. And we'll let this buffering keep attempting to steady itself. And you will see the World Expo behind us continuously. Who really likes to write in this class? Get out, that many. Wow, way to go. Writing is a powerful human skill. It's one of the most important skills humans have created in the long story of human innovation, the ability to write. Well, now, then, what's your name? Josh. Josh, would you go over to the smartboard and let Maureen show you how to write nice and clearly? And then you are going to be the focus of our attention now. His writing is going to be front and center in this take up. So the other thing I want to point you to is the article that I will post for you. I think it's important that we do this semester. I was thinking maybe I'd lighten the workload a little bit, but this is too important. I'm going to post this for reading for you. It will be on DC Connect, and I will announce this. Just be aware that 6 Rules for Effective Forecasting is coming, and you will have to read it for homework, and we will review it next week. Okay, because Paul Sappho gives some very good concrete methods on how to use your imagination and think about the future in ways where you can start forecasting more accurately what might be coming. It's really important for you to be able to have some skills to think about the future in a clear way. Great, Josh. So let's do a little bit of take up. And the idea is that we want to create our nice, insightful PowerPoint bullet points. That's our PowerPoint. Those are our slides. We're creating them right now from you and us together. So it's going to come from the take up. And let's see who's ready to tell us what you heard in that lineup as you were talking to others about things that you would like to improve that were in your imagination. And I'm not going to go default right now to students that maybe are ready to talk because I know it's Lydia, right? Yeah, I remember now. So Lydia, let's start with Lydia, okay? And make sure that we've got tech working. There we go. Okay, so karaoke. So Lydia, let's talk about this for a little bit, and then we're going to get Josh to write something that's important. Okay, Lydia, what did you hear, and what do you think is important?
So one of the ideas I heard was to create for people who have the dyslexia to create like separate the words better so that they can read better.
Ooh, wow. So we're thinking something medical for health. Um, so let's try and figure out what we should tell Josh to write, because we now have some good ideas starting about what came out of your imaginations that could improve humanity's destiny. So, Lydia, could you rewind and just a little louder? What was that about something for dyslexia?
Yeah, so for people who have dyslexia, it would be to separate the words better so that they could see it properly to read.
Hmm. Invention for dyslexia. Let's say that for now. Invention for dyslexia. Invention for dyslexia. What's that? He's dyslexic. It's good. But we're not laughing at you, okay? You understand. Excellent. So someone else should write? Okay. I have a feeling she could be default from last. Who's ready but has to like writing? Okay. You go ahead. Great. Okay. One of the remarkable things about being alive today as a human being in 2025 is, for all of you who might be a little sober minded and even depressed about the future, I'm going to give you the good news. There has never been so much attention in human society since the pandemic on the mental health and disabilities, if you will, of human beings. Isn't that a good thing, Gigi? You don't have to, and there's no pressure for you to, but I happen to feel that whenever a student is ready to share something, usually we're going to get something very significant. It's going to be memorable for the class, but you don't have to. Aren't we lucky? Go, Gigi.
Thank you, Maureen. I
Yes.
turned it on. My thought is that yes, when we think about it as an idea, yeah, it's a good thing that mental health and disabilities are being paid more attention to within society. But with a lot of things in our society, I feel like when you give an inch, people take a mile.
Mm.
That's just my thought.
Well, this brings us to something I hoped I would get to next week, but I would just tease you a little bit. Who are the pessimists in this class, and who are the optimists? And who are somewhere in between? Because how you answer that question will define how you imagine the future. And I have a sense, a feeling that there might be a bit of a pessimist in there. I don't know. Did I say anything too dangerous that might kind of sting? But would you say that your view of humanity might be? Let's explore this a little bit. Let's explore this a little bit. What was your thought when you imagined something to improve society? Did you have anything?
The imagination thing we did just now.
Yeah.
My thought was Um, I want to improve the way I interact with people. That's what I imagine I can better. Do you want me to expand on that a little bit more?
It's great. You're certainly doing a very good job of it in this class.
Thank you. I really like in-person connection. Um, I was homeschooled for a lot of my life, and I lived on a farm, and I was very isolated. And in-person connection is something that means a lot to me because I really missed out on a lot of that, and I've had to work really hard to have the skills that I have today. And I like to smile at people. I like to make eye contact. I like to say thank you. I like all of those things, and I know that it's being lost in my generation. People don't do that. And that is what I want to make better. And one thing I can do is be the change that I want to see.
Wow. Um, maybe you aren't a pessimist. How would you define yourself as somebody when you think about the future? Do you feel that we're going in the wrong direction, humanity, that we're heading towards something really bad, or that we're kind of muddling along and it's going to get better because humans are actually pretty smart, or it's a kind of combination?
I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But I think the end goal that it could be better, and there is a lot of people who want to make it better, but I think there's also a lot of people in power who don't want the best for the human race right now. So I
Mhm.
think that for it to get better, it has to get worse, and there has to be, some kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'm being negative.
Hmm.
I think I'm more of a realist, kind of in the middle than
Sure.
very optimistic or very pessimistic. I'm kind of just looking at what's in front of me.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to something that you're going to hear about from Paul Sappho. It's a technique. It's called scenario planning. Could you write this down, Josh? Scenario planning. It is Paul Sappho's view that in order for us to think about the future in ways that can be actionable and can be doable, we have to use our imaginations to plan all sorts of different scenarios and then start to think about what do we think is the most likely scenario that could happen based on the world today. So I'm introducing to you a term that's going to come up in your reading that's very important, scenario planning. And I'm going to bring it back to Gigi right now. Is it okay if we continue with Gigi? Because she's very willing to share and she can help us learn together, unless there's something that you would like to add. We have a good student who is not afraid to bring things to the class that can help you all learn. So, you said it's going to get worse before it gets better. You said give people an inch and they'll take a mile. That's pretty dark, but let's see.
I think. I mean, okay.
Let's scenario plan. Let's scenario plan for a second. Okay, scenario plan. When you say it's going to get dark, it's a big statement. Or it's going to get worse, I should say. Sorry, I put a word or two in your mouth. Those are words. Now let's use the imagination, the mental representation. Now let's really put some skin in the game. Tell us a scenario of how bad it's going to get. Let's hear it. What's going to happen?
I think there's gonna be a lot of problems financially. I don't really know the technical words, but I'm gonna try my best to explain to
Go
you
ahead.
guys what I'm
Go ahead.
thinking.
Make it real.
Um,
I want to make it real right now. Tell us in real terms, what do you see in your imagination?
I see the machines having too much control over our life. Like I'll give you an example about I don't know, there's some plans of digital banking or digital currency, and people are not using cash even as often, and it's all on your phone and on your debit, and soon you're not even able to hold cash in your hand. That's crazy for me to think about personally. Like, that's kind of crazy to not even be able to hold your own money, and it's all going to be in the bank. What if they lock it down? What if you don't have access to your money anymore? That's the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about, stuff that's actually going to impact our everyday life. I mean, we saw COVID, what it did to our economic system. We still haven't recovered from that.
Okay, I think I saw. Do you want to add? Let's see if, because she's brave And because she's now gone a little bit further in this mental representation exercise of using your imagination, let's see when she put this thing out there, this scenario, if it really holds up or whether it's just Gigi's fear. Whether there's any truth, any science, any facts that can support this scenario, because we may learn that the scenarios that you are creating in your imaginations are rooted not in good information, but in all sorts of stuff that's not real. It's just fear and muck. Yes.
Okay. Okay, like while I agree with what she's saying, right? I also believe that if we think like that, we won't get anywhere. Because in the past, right, these methods were put into place to better our future, right? And like when these methods were put into place, right, like for example, online banking or like being able to access class online or like anywhere in the world, right? It was put in place to make life easier, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say like, oh, we're gonna get robots or flying cars because honestly and truthfully, right, back in 2002 or like in year 2000, right, in 2020 we expected to see flying cars and like
Has it happened?
exactly
Yeah.
it hasn't happened, right? So I think that these like so like to think that in 2050 like all of these things are gonna happen, right? It most likely will not happen. Like I
A
mean,
lot of
like
things
yes,
don't.
like
Absolutely.
a lot's changing, but I do not believe it's gonna change that much to the fact that oh, robots are controlling our lives.
Yeah.
Because like we thought we would have had flying cars in 2020 and 2025, and we don't have flying cars. I mean, we're probably somewhere near, but like we don't have flying cars just yet, and it's probably being put into place to better our lives.
Yeah. Okay. Hold your thought, Gigi, just a second. I want to make sure. I thought I
I
saw.
was just gonna ask if anybody else had thoughts.
Good. Very good. Okay. We'll get to call in a second. I want to thank all of you for being ready to come into a classroom and actually learn together from each other. This is good. This is recorded. Others are going to learn from this. Yes.
I think Gigi's fear about um
Gigi's concern. Maybe fear is too strong. I don't want
sorry.
Gigi's concern.
Gigi's concern about like the advancement of like how we like store our money and how like um uh how our money is slowly becoming digital and
Yes.
like we're soon like losing like physical money. It's more of a problem like the consistent problem with the bank instead of like the advancement and like the system that was
Hmm.
already
It's not the
in
technology
place.
that's the problem. It's how humans use the technology, right? Would you
Um,
say? Like, we
or
could
just
have
like
digital currency, and if the banks and others use it properly, and then it could work. But if somebody gets in there and starts to corrupt the process, then it's going to work against us. So maybe it's about how humans use it. It's about how humans use the tech. Let's make sure I've got everybody here. Collins, your hand has been up for a while. This is great. Jazeel, hold it, and then we're going to conclude, okay? Let's bring the microphone over to this student. Way to go. Okay? We're talking about thinking about the future in realistic ways. That's where we began today's class, and that's where we're ending with this. Yes.
Okay, I was talking about like if we see history, we used to have like the farms and all that things. We have to make it by ourselves. It was really difficult life to
Yeah,
be honestly. Like we
absolutely.
have to make like even for the clothes, we have to make it by my ourselves. Like
Absolutely.
even for the family, we have like barter system
Yep.
that used to be there, and we have to like trade. No one was even willing to trade. If you are making like fiber, you have to trade with wheat. Someone would like agree, someone would not. If
Yes.
you're trading, like sometimes you don't even know the value of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that currency thing is the problem. If she's talking about like banks, there is all digital. What if the bank just stop accepting the notes that we are having, like the dollars? What if they just stop that, taking that notes, accepting that? So
It's a very good point you made. It wasn't that long ago in human society that we had what are called agricultural economies. And the majority of humanity lived in the country in farms. And when they came to the cities, it was fairly recent that we had factories and others that could begin to produce larger things in cities. But most of human history has been centered around farms and agriculture before we had the technologies and tools to get away from that. What's your name? Vanch. VAN. You are the Vanch in my spreadsheet who just comes in as Vanch. There's no other name. So I just, good. I don't need to have more syllables and more names. I have too many students. So I'm glad. Maybe I should just call you V for short, but Vanch. It's okay. Van? Van. Van. Okay, let's go drive the van together and let's speed along the 407. Van, go ahead. That's true, although I would just correct you and say there probably is not an area, unless it's very, very remote in Canada, where people lack a car or technology. However, point taken about how machines can help us. Digital currency can help us. Yep, thanks. Okay.
But again, back to my thing about giving an inch and taking a mile. That's just what I think. I don't think technology is bad. I think it's
Yeah.
great. I think it's useful, but I think it definitely has the potential to get very much out of hand.
Yes.
That's what my point is.
But you listen to what the others are saying, the students, and you can hear where they're going, and you basically agree. I mean, you're willing to say it can get better with tech. I'm just a little worried.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried. Okay. Van, you have the last word, and then we'll go to okay. Okay. Go Van, and then we're going to finish the class. But Van, go ahead. Absolutely. It all depends on the people. It all depends on the humans. Give her the microphone, and this is something you're going to see in this course. The humans are remarkably inventive and curious and ambitious and desire more and more and more. So we can't stop that. We can't stop our creativity. We're just going to keep creating. Then the question is, do we know how to use these things wisely? That's where ethics come in. That's where our own sense of judgment comes in. That's more difficult. Yes.
And if anybody does disagree with me, that's fine. I am so interested to hear what everybody has to say. It's never personal.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with you and with what you said, but like you have to remember that we can't like keep going along with like this concern in our head that like oh people will use technology bad because like when the first car was invented people were so opposed to it because they were like oh it's gonna be used for bad things and now we're using like motor trans like different motor transportation like very good things.
So using change as a good thing and not
Yeah.
not being afraid of it, but more so embracing it.
Yeah, and like even if you see like one person like using that change for a bad thing, like you can add to like the 2% that's using the change for a good thing, and like obviously like you can like doing the monkey see monkey do effect.
Mhm.
Like if someone sees you doing something, they're gonna want to do like exactly what you're doing, or like well not exactly what you're doing.
I get what you're saying.
Like they're gonna like want to be like oh okay this looks interesting. Let me see how it benefits me, like how it benefits society, and like be able to follow you or like just look at your actions. Like you can't just like, keep going ahead with this fear or concern that change is like
I just have one question for you. I remember when you said that these technology and things are to better us and for our own good. I just want to know who determines what's best for you, the government or yourself or I just want to know what you think.
Who determines what's best for you?
Don't do that.
I have to stop you only because I'm watching the time. I'm worried about the other students, but I always like to stop on a high note. And I do that because once upon a time in another life, I was a television producer and director, and I've done a lot of television series. And one that I produce is called Zoo Diaries for the National Geographic Channel or Discovery Channel. And I spent a lot of time with elephants at the Metro Toronto Zoo, setting up the television series. You can still see it on television somewhere. And I got to know a bit of how elephants think with the elephant trainers. And I don't really like zoos that much, actually, but the elephant would be trained to do something by the zookeeper. The elephant was trained to come over to the cage, the edge of the cage, to take something, and it learned that motion. The zookeeper would stop the activity, and when he returned the next week, the elephant would pick up where he left off. But if the activity was ended with the elephant not understanding or learning, then the next week they'd have to start all over again with the elephant from scratch. I hope you don't mind me referring to you as elephants right now, but I will for the sake of making a point. Let's end the class when these elephants are understanding. And please, before next week, because it's part of your participation mark, email me a question with your name under it, just like you did last week. Okay? Thank you very much for all of what you've brought to the class, your contributions. I will post the article for you to read for next week so you can drill down a little bit more deeply on this idea of using your imagination. You can come talk to me offline, okay? Just I'll let everybody go. Other than that, if you need to speak with me, I'll be here. I'll see you all next week, okay? Thank you. And oh, Mayreen, she's made stickers for everyone in the global classroom. I'm going to give you each. Do you want to hand them out? Yeah, they're great. Humanity's Destiny stickers. Thank you, Mayreen, for all of the people in the global classroom. Humanity's Destiny. Lovely. Thank you. It's McCalcia. Thanks. How do you spell that again? MCC? AL? I saw it in because you're officially registered, right? Yeah, good. McCalcia. All right. That's okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you. Okay, who's that? Yeah, let me just save the live chat first, and I need to stop the live stream. I just need to do a couple of things first before we are done. And that would be first, I want the live chat, and that is here, and that is here, and it's saved. Okay, the next thing